When I was a young teenager, my mother once joked with me that the term "I was going to do it" would be on my headstone. And the reason was she would ask me to do something. She'd ask me to make my bed or do the dishes. And then an hour later, she'd say, why hasn't it been done? And I would say, I was going to do it. I've just not got round to it yet. And as a young man, as a teenager, I'd get very upset because I thought she was being unfair because I wasn't being disobedient. I was going to do it. I had every intention of doing it. But as I've aged and as I've understood things better, I realized this, that delayed obedience is disobedience. When the Lord speaks to us, we need to act. And too often, I know in my life, he speaks and I say, I'll get round to it. And I have every intention of doing so. The problem is the human heart is this strange thing that deceives us and wants its own way. You know, when people say follow your heart, it's stupid advice. If you follow your heart, you're going to get into trouble. Don't follow your heart, follow Jesus. But we can start with the best of intentions. But if we don't actually turn those intentions into action, then the chances are our motivation will decrease, and the opportunity for disobedience will increase and increase. As deacons, you need to be men and women who are faithful, who are obedient, who are reliable, who are dependable, both to be obedient to what the Lord asks, but also obedient to what the elders ask. And even that phrase, will you obey your elders? Some people start to twitch because it sounds, that's a little bit controlling. It's not controlling, it's biblical. Hebrews 13 says, obey your leaders and submit to them as those who must give an account. And we need to be an obedient people. As an elder, there is nothing that let me not exaggerate. It gives me great pleasure when I work with the deacon team who are obedient and dependable. When they're asked to do something, it gets done because it reduces the workload and the stress on the elder, and the elder can really be more effective in leading people forward. It's not that the elders are lazy and want to do less. It's that we can all work hard, but we can all work hard in that part of the field that God has given us to work. And when we all do our work well, we all succeed and the kingdom advances. And so as deacons, we need to have a heart that when we're asked to do something, we do it willingly, we do it joyfully, and we do it well, and we do it quickly. But ideally, as elders, even as deacons, as anybody in the church, but particularly those on a leadership team, not only do we need to be people who respond well and quickly and willingly when we're asked, but I believe we also need to be those who anticipate and do things before we're even asked. As much as my mother, when I was a young boy, would appreciate it if I did the dishes when I was asked to, she was even more pleased on those very rare occasions when I did it when I hadn't even been asked. And by the way, those events are why when I got married and, I was older, I bought a dishwasher. But anyway, as much as obedience brings pleasure, anticipation and doing it before we're asked brings greater pleasure. And there's a wonderful example of that in the Old Testament. And we read about that in 2 Samuel 23 from verse 14. It says, David was in the stronghold and the Philistine garrison was at Bethlehem. Remember, Bethlehem is David's hometown. That's where he grew up, and then the Philistines had taken over it. And David was outside, and they're laying siege to this town. He wants to take back this town, and he's going, oh, that someone would get me a drink of water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem. I just remember drinking from that well as a young man, and it would bring me so much pleasure to drink again. So 3 of the mighty men broke through the Philistine lines, drew water from the well, and carried it back to David. But he refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it out before the Lord. And there's a beautiful picture of these 3 mighty men just become aware of the desire of David, and their heart is to please his heart. Their heart is, we exist to serve the needs and the desires of our King. And yes, when we speak of the needs and desires of our King, we're talking about our eternal King. But the way we serve Jesus is reflected by the way we serve others. And as deacons, we need to be close to our leaders so we can hear the whispers, so that we can read between the lines, so that we can hear what are the needs, what are the requirements, what are the problems, what are the holes in the church, and not just wait to be asked, and not expect somebody else to do it, and not to say, I'll get around to it soon, not to say, I was going to do it, but to be willing then to say, I am willing to do it. You know, my story in Josh Gen is a strange one. Before I was an elder in the very early days of Josh Gen, Andrew came for supper and he asked me, how would you feel about leading a community? And my answer was, I would rather be slowly stung to death by killer bees. I didn't want to do it. But in the discussion, my response to him eventually was, if you want me to do it, I'll do it. Later, when he needed somebody to go and look after a group of people in Durbanville, I said, I'm probably not the right guy, but I'm willing to do it if you want me to do it. And my heart has always been, I am willing if you want me to. I am willing. And sometimes in that willingness and that desire to be a part of the solution and not be part of the problem, sometimes I've been able to anticipate and initiate things before being asked. And as a result, I believe of that willingness, not as a result of being incredibly gifted or incredibly charismatic or incredibly good looking, all of which I am, but it's not because of that, but just because of willingness that the Lord has opened doors for me and increased my influence, increased my gifting, increased my ability to contribute and be a part of what he's doing through his kingdom. And so I urge all of us to be a people who are willing. I urge all of us to be a people who obey enthusiastically and quickly and readily, and that we're a leadership team who know each other's hearts, and we're willing to act even before we're asked, to the glory of Jesus.